It is my pleasure to welcome you to the crash course Quantitative Research Papers. The objective of this course is to give you a solid understanding what you have to write in each section of a quantitative research paper, and moreover, to give you more than idea and understanding how you get to these contents. This is the introductory lecture of this course, and here I would like to give you an idea what are the quality criteria of research papers in general. So what do you need to have in mind to keep the quality of your paper up? Furthermore, I will introduce you to the structure, the table of contents of a quantitative research paper. Let's go to the quality criteria first. If you are expecting objectivity, reliability, and validity, the classic quality criteria, I have to disappoint you. If you're more interested in these, I'd like to refer you to another crash course of mine, which is entitled Foundations of Quantitative Research. Here, I give you a more general approach how to keep the quality of your research papers up. And here I would like to start. You are researchers or you're just becoming to be a researcher. What do you do as a researcher, as an academic researcher? You want to come a bit closer to the truth. You would like to explain the world a bit slightly better. And based on your findings, the world should become a better place. Or at least the people who read your findings should be able to make the world a better place. That is what researchers do. Explaining the world a bit better so that the world can become a better place. And then, probably self-explanatory, you need to find out something new. Otherwise, research does not make sense whatsoever. However, this new stuff you're finding out doesn't need to be massive. You do not need to reinvent the wheel or write the next Nobel Prize thesis. In academic research, new knowledge comes in incremental steps, meaning in small steps. To give you a bit of an oversimplified example, it is well established that work satisfaction has an impact on organizational commitment. But perhaps in some industry, I don't know, medium-sized industry in the jungles of French Guiana, there we do not know. Is it the same there? Then you do it. You research, work satisfaction, and organizational commitment is the relationship for medium-sized companies in the jungle of French Guiana. And that would be something new. I slightly oversimplified probably what I've given you, but I think you get the idea. You have to find out something new, but this new thing doesn't need to be the next Nobel Prize theory. And on a side note, if you have to write an assignment, a master, bachelor thesis, or even a doctoral thesis, I would strongly recommend sticking with this advice. Find out something new, but do not reinvent the wheel or the world. If things are too complicated, too ambitious, the room for failure and mistakes widens massively. Now, as I said earlier, you want to explain the world a bit better, and the world should be able to become a better place based on your findings. Therefore, your results and findings need to be generalized or generalizable. An academic research paper cannot just give advice to Marks and Spencer's or just to Tesco or to Sainsbury's. Then it's a great consulting project, happy days, but it's not an academic research paper. Having the example of food retailers I've just given, then you might have a paper that comes out with the results. What should food retailers in general do to improve? Then it's fine for academic research. Just having results for only Marks and Spencer's or for only Sainsbury's or for only Tesco's, that is not an academic research paper. The world should be better, and not just one company or one person. Now let's assume you come to new findings and these are generalizable. Happy days. You definitely need to explain the reader how you get to these results. Therefore, you need to have a comprehensible and a testable method. And there's another perspective on it. You're not God. You're not telling the people how the world is, and that's the absolute truth. Even as a researcher, you're just a human being and you might fail with your statements. Your statements might be wrong. Therefore, you need to give other researchers the chance to test your theories and your research. Therefore, you need to explain the method, how you come to your results, so that others can apply this method too, to see, are these stable results, or was there something wrong, or has the world changed? Now, all the findings you're coming to, they need to be conclusive. It is not like politicians here, or politics, where you say, oh, I see it this way, blah, 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 and you have different perspectives. No, you are in research and you want to come closer to the truth. That means you need to come to conclusive results. In other words, again, perhaps a bit too hard how I phrase this, it is the conclusions you're coming to are the only conclusions possible. One cannot come to any other conclusion. There's a very hard take on, you need to get to conclusive results. Finally, you need to work on your topic comprehensively, or in other words, exhaustively. You need to cover everything that is relevant for your topic, for your research. You cannot cherry pick what just fits your argument. You have to deal with everything that's there. That is especially important for the theory section. And if you adhere to these general rules, you will have a great research paper. You come to something new, this new finding is generalizable, you have a solid method that is comprehensively explained, your results are conclusive, and you've covered your topic exhaustively. Very happy days. Then you will have a great paper with almost certainty. Now, how does the structure, the table of contents, look in research paper and social sciences? And the good thing is, it's always the same structure, with just a few exceptions. If you develop a grand theory, or you develop, refine, and validate a measurement instrument, then possibly you have a different table of contents or different structure, but with everything that goes in the direction of applied sciences and empirical sciences within the realm of social sciences, of course, then you will have this structure. You have 6 sections with introduction, theory, research questions, methods, results, and discussion. Important here is that the numbering might differ. So here you can say what I'm showing you is the basic structure of research papers in social sciences. In some disciplines, like psychology, you have a different numbering. There, the standard structure or table of contents is introduction, methods, results, discussion. But the first 3 sections of the left-hand table of contents are integrated into introduction. That is rather the theory part in psychology. So your theory, state of research, and the last subsection is research questions. So you might have a different numbering, but the structure is virtually always the same. And stick to it. Like it is in normal life, as soon as you structure the problem, it is as good as solved. I will use now, or give me another hint or advice, another information that might help. So, terminology-wise, in a research paper, in an article, you would call these sections. In a book, you would call these chapters. It is basically the same but different terminology. Now, let us go to the left-hand side, the basic structure of research paper in social sciences, and I would like to elaborate a bit more what is in these sections and how are they related. So on the left-hand side, again the structure: 1 introduction, 2 theory and state of research, 3 research questions, 4 methods, 5 results, 6 discussion. So let's start with the introduction. What is the introduction for? The only purpose of the introduction is to give the reader an overview what he or she can expect in your paper. Therefore, you will introduce the research topic very briefly normally, not a long argument there. You state the goal, the objective of your research. That is basically the same as your research questions, your central research questions. And then you give a standard overview of the following sections. To answer these research questions, next is theory, then research questions in detail, methods, the results, and the results are discussed. So the reader knows, all right, this is what I can expect when I carry on reading this paper. The theory section. Here you need to conceptualize all the constructs that you're examining later in your empirical research, and you need to integrate these constructs into the existing theories that you get from literature. Conceptualization is another word for definition. So you need to define all your constructs. Furthermore, you need to give an understanding, the reader an understanding of the state of research. What are the antecedents of your constructs? What are the consequences? What are the correlates? So what did other researchers found out about your constructs, the constructs you're examining? And that is normally done through empirical research, and there you need to look into journals, academic scientific journals. Having this theory in the state of research, you have shown what we know to this state, what we're knowing so far. And that opens the research gap. That is all what we're not knowing. So you have to deduce the research questions from the theory section, from the state of research, from what we know, and you can see what we do not know. And to close this gap, you formulate your research questions. In quantitative research, quite often you can work with a model. We will come to this in a later section. Here, I strongly advise you, if possible, do so. Now, the research questions, they come here in the differentiated formulation, not necessarily, but quite often, with research questions that are more general and then more specific subordinated research questions that you need to answer to be able to answer your rather general research questions, if main research questions on the top. The research questions, you can understand, are the objectives of your empirical research. And then comes the method. The method is nothing else than the way how you will answer your research questions or how you will reach your objectives. So the way you answer research questions or the way you get to your objectives. Typically, you have 2 subsections, which is research design, where you describe how you conducted your research. Was an online questionnaire? When did you collect the data? How do you recruit the participants? And you describe the sample. How many men and women were in the sample? How old were the sample? And so forth. Furthermore, you explain the measurement instruments. How did you operationalize your constructs? And there again, you have a connection to the theory section. The theory section, you have defined all the constructs. Now you're telling your reader how you measured them. And you cannot come up with some questionnaire and questions just because the sun is shining or you have a special feeling this day. No, it all needs to be founded in literature. Furthermore, you will state how you will analyze your data. Having done this, you can present your results. And that is, if you will, a neutral presentation of the results. You do not give any further explanations. You just present A has an effect on B, C has an effect on B, and so forth. Finally, there's the discussion section. And here comes the interpretation, the implications of the results. What reasons might there be for the results, for the effects you have found? And of course, think back what I've said earlier. You're a researcher. You want to make the world a better place. So tell the world how it can be a better place and say what do your findings implicate or mean for the real world and for the academic world. And finally, normally in the second subsection of discussion, you will point out what are the limitations of your work and what future research should follow your work. I would like to show you an example. That was in the realm of psychology. Therefore, the numbering is 1, introduction, 2 methods, 3 results, 4 discussion. The research project was about the relationships between organizational commitment, commitment to supervisor, and servant leadership. In other words, which effects do the servant leadership components have on the dimensions of commitment to supervisor, and what effect do the components of commitment to supervisor have on the components on organizational commitment? So, my co-authors and I introduced organizational commitment, commitment to supervisor, and servant leadership. We clearly defined the constructs and reported the state of research. What did other researchers found with regard to these constructs? From this, we deduced a hypothesized model and the research questions. Then research design under methods, first subsection, where we pointed out it was an online questionnaire. We collected the data during this time. This is how the sample looked, and so forth. Then we explained how we measured organizational commitment, commitment to supervisor, and servant leadership, and how we analyzed the data. Then it comes to the results, where the descriptive statistics and, as mentioned, the 2 effects, commitment to supervisor on organizational commitment and servant leadership on commitment to supervisor. In the discussion, we explained why we could find this effect and not another, gave the implications, stating what does it mean now for academia and for the real world, and finally giving limitations of our research and suggested avenues that should be proceeded in the future, so academic avenues that should be pursued in the future. So far for this section, or the first lecture, and I hope I could give you an overview what are the general quality criteria and how to structure your research paper. In the next video lectures, we will go through all the sections of a research paper: introduction, theory, research question, methods, results, and discussion, with an emphasis on methods. There we'll have 5 online or video lectures, as I would like to go a bit deeper and explain quantitative research methods and statistics a bit more to you, including determining the sample size, descriptive statistics, and key procedures of inferential statistics. But we should not get ahead of ourselves. The next lecture will be about the introduction of academic research papers. Until then, I wish you all the best, and it is bye-bye for now.